Welcome to the Pop Cult Online Power Hour, the video podcast dedicated to the 10-year-old and all of us, and I'm your host, Rick Gordon. In this episode, Bob and I talk about treasure hunting, and we also talk about our TV appearance on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and we'll be right back after these brief messages.
And this is a freaky street. We never miss a meal, cause we love our cereals. This is the big boss, we call him Boss Moss.
Make sure you spell it right.
Snorkeled off, they call me so handsome and pretty.
He's little hand-hosed.
He's got a weird nose.
Do I really have to sing?
My name is Grumble.
I am Kamumble.
You're standing on my foot.
Gargold is his name.
No, this is my game. I know more than you do.
Says you.
And don't forget me, I'm goody-goody. I always do what's right. For instance, I eat freaky cereal because it's got a lot of vitamins and it's good for me.
You too can have crunchy, freaky cereal as part of your good breakfast. And there's a free freaky in specially marked boxes.
Okay, here comes the big finish.
We are the Freakies. We are the Freakies. This is the Freaky Street.
It was Christmas Eve in McDonald's land. Everyone was asleep except Ronald, who had other plans. Out of his bed, he silently crept.
Cuckoo! What are you doing, Ronald? Shh!
I'm giving McDonald's gift certificates to all my friends. So Hamburglar can get a hamburger. And Grimace. Is it Christmas yet? Not yet. Grimace can get a shake. Christmas. Captain Crook, fillet of fish. And the mayor, he can get a cheeseburger. So to the chimney Ronald did reach. You can get him at McDonald's, 50 cents each. When suddenly bright light shined in his eyes, Ronald turned around amazed and surprised.
Hi, guys. I make too much noise?
All his friends had a present for him.
McDonald's gift certificates for me, you dumb shits. I get them free.
And a Merry Christmas to all of you from all of us at McDonald's. Merry Christmas.
Hello.
There he is.
Just checking this out.
I love that book. Did I ever tell you the story behind that book?
Behind you getting that book, or the story behind the creation of that book?
No, the story of me getting that book.
Tell away, sir.
I went on a field trip to the Statue of Liberty in 5th grade, and I had a really great time. It was a very memorable trip, and when I got back, I went to the store that was down the street. I hopped on my Ross Apollo 5 speed and sped down the street to check out what new comics were out. So I think it was a Friday we actually went. We'll have to double check. But
This was in the days when comics did not come out on Wednesday.
Or if they did, nobody cared.
There was a time before, they didn't always come out on Wednesday.
So I pedaled down there and I saw this gigantic comic book, this huge Spider-Man. And I bought it. And if you look inside, there's like a mock-up of the Daily Bugle, and the date that's printed is the date that I had it in my hand, and it really freaked me out.
June 18th, 1974.
Yep. So it was almost as if that thing was printed, sent on a truck, and delivered directly into my hands all on the same day. Which I didn't know anything about books being on the shelves for months at a time, or them making it in advance. All I knew is I bought the book, I opened it up, and it was that day. And it was a little disconcerting, to say the least.
The biggest, coolest comics. And at the time, 1974, what was a comic, like 20 cents at that point?
It was either 20 cents or it had just jumped to 25. It was like right on the cusp there.
And this was $1.50.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like, wow, that's a lot of money.
That was my whole allowance plus. You know, I had to dip into next week's because I think books might have been still 20 cents at that point because I would take my $1 and go get 5 books.
Yeah.
And
now, being Spider-Man, I'm sure helped you make the decision to pull the trigger. Had it just been a big Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer like DC was spitting out at the time, or, picture stories from the Bible, kid.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
If you were a deeply religious lad, then that would have swayed you.
Oh, but that beautiful romantic
Spider-Man.
cover. Yeah. And had a couple, it was like an anthology, I guess. Some old stories and some articles and pinups.
Yeah, it's got a variety. What's interesting, because I hadn't looked at it in a long time, and it's like flipping through it, you've got basically, let's look at the table of contents. So
Can you hold on for 1 second?
The Green Goblin.
Let me go grab my copy.
Okay, we will look at it together.
Yes, this will be our episode. Not to worry, we will just simply edit this out in post. Let's see. All right. Now, as the audience can see, I've got my fresh copy. And we're going to go
first issue. The first thing in here is the Green Goblin. Had to have been Spider-Man 14.
Well, no, let's not skip ahead. Let's go to the
you got to look at the Daily Bugle article?
No, we're going to go before that because one of the things I used to really like doing is identifying heads. I mean, this is what captivated me with issue 121.
Starting at the top left and going right, we can alternate.
Okay, we'll do what we can. I'll go first. That's Norman Osborn.
Harry Osborn.
Flash Thompson.
Betty Brant.
Ned Leeds, I believe.
Yeah, and then that would be Emma Watson. Is Mary Jane's Aunt Emma?
Anna May. No,
Anna May. Anna May Watson. Okay, it's Mary Jane's aunt.
Right. Liz Allen. I'm taking a guess on that one.
I think that is Liz Allen. That's early. And then we got Mary Jane.
Ooh,
up at the top, I'm thinking that's Frederick
Forsyth?
Foswell.
Yeah. It was a double F name, I remember that. John Jameson, the astronaut.
Jameson and Peter and Aunt May, those are gimmies.
Yeah. Wow. We've got Joe Robertson, or Robbie, Randy Robertson, and then this other guy. I don't know who that is.
I'm not sure who this other dude is.
Is it Toby, the Prowler?
I don't remember him having glasses like that, but
yeah, this is wow. We're gonna
and then you got Uncle Ben and the Burglar
next to
a slap in the face to Uncle Ben's memory.
Then we have the beautiful Gwen Stacy and her father Arthur.
Then we've got
George. No, it was George, right?
George Stacy. Then we got the villains.
Yep.
They're in almost order there. You got Chameleon, Vulture, Sandman, and then they jump forward to Scorpion.
And then you've got Doc Ock, you've got Green Goblin, Mark Raxton, the Molten Man, Craven, Beetle, Lizard, Mysterio, and who is that down in the corner?
I think that's the Looter. No, the Looter's up above Electro.
Right. Didn't the Looter all become the Meteor Man?
Yeah.
When he got the ridiculous balloon on his back?
I'm drawing a blank on the guy there in the bottom corner. And then we've got Kingpin, Rhino, Prowler, Man-Wolf, Morbius, Shocker, and is that Man-Mountain Marco or is that the Ox?
I was going to say the Ox, yeah.
because Man Mountain has dark hair. So the ones we're having trouble with, I'll like put this up, is this dude right here, right, and the guy with the glasses right there.
Yeah. I think that dude and Frederick, whoever, are one and the same. But you
think that's Mr. Big, maybe?
Yeah.
Use the magic of the internet.
Yeah. While you're doing that, I'm flipping over to the Daily Bugle, which I don't think I've actually read this since '74. But it's just I'm going to hold it up, just kind of a parody of a typical New York tabloid type paper with a lot of inside jokes regarding Marvel. Kind of a behind-the-scenes type thing. And from there, just like Bob said, we go to the grotesque adventure of the Green Goblin. Now, the weird thing about Green Goblin, since we're both into Spider-Man, he's always counted as his number one villain. But he really didn't make that many appearances. A handful at most. So I would almost argue that Doc Ock is Spidey's main villain, but
I am a Doc Ock guy, but that's because my first Spider-Man comic had Doc Ock, and the guy married Aunt May, and I mean he was like all up in Spider-Man's grill a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I guess your Goblin found out his secret identity and stuff. So I mean they were both up there.
Yeah, but Doc Ock made many, many more appearances than Goblin did, right?
Yes.
So, get Goblin, and I think, is this where Spidey goes out to the Midwest? No. Yeah, when he fights the Hulk, right? Yeah. Spidey fights the Hulk. Wow, and this is pretty cool. You get to see the Green Goblin's flying broom.
Yeah, that didn't last very long.
Yeah, well, if he had kept it, he'd still be alive.
That's true, but no protuberances to spike him.
Yeah.
Well, he's still alive anyway.
Oh God, not in my world. He's not. One of the neat little features, which has probably been reprinted in an annual or a giant size somewhere, but it's just a little page that has, secrets and diagrams and, the secrets of Spider-Man. Shows his web shooters and how a little quick one-page intro to his origin. How his mask works, how his belt light works, and
it's funny that these first couple of Ditko stories don't have the specific issue attributed. And then when you get to the third story, The Birth of a Superhero, it's got the little thing on the bottom that says originally presented in Amazing Spider-Man 42. And I'm thinking because they might have at this point just snagged that off of a Marvel Tales. It might have already been reprinted in a Marvel Tales and already had that on it. And that 42, of course, is notable for one of the most famous panels in
all of
Spider-Man.
Right.
But, introducing one of your least favorite Spider-Man girlfriends.
She is a solid number 3. A solid number 3. Now, let me take you to this, and this has been a bone of contention of mine for quite some time. I'm not a huge Kirby fan, and I know that's going to offend a lot of people. I don't discount his body of work or the influence he's had in the industry. I just was not a fan of his artwork, and especially was not a fan of him working on Spider-Man. And we have one of the stories in here. Let's see. Go back to it. Spider-Man tackles the Torch. Now, but the downside was the Kirby art. The upside, the friendship between Peter Parker and Johnny Storm, which persisted for decades. And I really like that, because I always felt that superheroes didn't always have to be loners. They could have friends, buddies, guys they just hang out with, much the way that me and Bob do. Except I would never go over to Bob's house and trick him into building a Spider-Man dune buggy for me.
You wouldn't throw web bats at me either. Have them get in my hair.
That's right.
Now, is this Spider-Man tackles the Torch? Since it's drawn by Kirby, is this from like Strange Tales? Is this from like Torch's run in Strange, or is this from Spider-Man?
I want to say
it's a backup story at best, because it's only like 6 pages long.
I'm thinking it's either it's probably an annual, either Fantastic Four or Spider-Man. I mean, you could go either way with that. But I do remember reading that story somewhere else first, not besides this book. So it's. And I don't want to use the internet because that's just cheating, but I'm trying to dig back to the old memory banks. But
there's a lot of good stuff in this Treasury edition. I mean, you've got the Goblin, and I mean, they've got the Rhino in here. You got the Shocker.
Mm-hmm.
They really picked some good.
And the one story, the reprehensible riddle of the sorcerer, originally presented in Marvel Superheroes, a book that I never even saw until maybe a couple of years ago. So it was just one of those weird stories. All of these other stories have been reprinted in one form or another over the years, whether it be in Marvel Tales or, World's Greatest Comics, whatever. But this Marvel Superheroes book, I never even saw until recently, and that story stuck out of my head because I'd never seen it, and it didn't fit in with the continuity of Spider-Man that I knew. It felt like a filler story, which basically it is, I think. But it was interesting, and now that was the best part of it.
This is not a good look for Gwen.
Which one?
Just the way she looks in this issue. I'm not a fan of this.
Oh, okay.
Older Gwen hairdo before she has the long hair, and her face is kind of different too.
Do you remember when Mary Jane had the perm?
Oh yeah.
So, how many pages are in this?
90, 100, it's 99 inside.
It doesn't seem like much because of the actual size of the book, but if you shrink it down to normal comic size, that's a good chunk of book for $1.50.
I love this panel.
Weird, I'm just looking at that right now. Yeah.
I mean, for my money, no one draws Spider-Man like, Romita. I mean, this is like a combination, because that's Kane pencils with Romita finishes. So, I mean, I think Kane's, got a very dynamic style, does some really nice layouts and scenes. And I think that, Romita doing the pencils, you might not have got that. He's at the end of that duct with the, in that air duct with the tentacles coming at it. But then Romita putting the finishes on that's a nice team up.
That was probably my favorite art team. Gil Kane is it was very spotty for me. Some of his work I loved, some of it not so much. I loved the Captain Marvel stuff that he did. Just here and there. He was very inconsistent in my eyes, but his run on Spider-Man, I really enjoyed, especially, like you said, with Romita inking over him.
As I'm flipping through this book, I got to show you what just fell out at me.
Wow. So let's go find the book and put it back where it belongs.
You remember, and then this was in there too.
Oh, hey, let's level with Daredevil. So yours is an original copy?
Yeah.
Okay, mine is it's a newer purchase because my old one was long gone. And I don't think I ever told you this story. So get your Kleenex out because this is going to be painful. It was December, I believe, of 74. Or maybe 73. I only remember that it was December and it was a nasty night out, a combination of rain and snow and sleet. I had been having a little bit of trouble in school. Wasn't really focusing, wasn't really applying my full potential, so my grades started to slip. And my mother put the blame squarely on the shoulders of these. You're reading too many comic books, you're not focusing on school, go throw them out. So I gathered up probably about 250, maybe 300 books and carried them out we lived in an apartment complex, and carried them out to the dumpster and tossed them in, crying the whole way, in the rain, in the cold. Books that I had been working on collecting for probably the last year or two. And threw the books out, came back in, just sobbing. And she just looked at me strange. She's like, why are you crying? And I was like, because you made me throw my books out. Oh, well, I wasn't really serious. So I just kind of blacked out after that. I don't really remember what happened. I remember going back out to the dumpster, but it had been raining so hard that all the books were ruined. I salvaged maybe a dozen of them, but wow. When,
the last time you ever took your mother seriously.
Yeah, so that was...
Why are you laying on the railroad tracks, Ricky? I told you not to. I didn't think you were serious, Mom. You weren't last time.
Wow, yeah. So it was pretty painful. And I remember like it was yesterday, and that was, 40 years ago. So...
Wow.
That's my story about how my mother threw them out. She actually had me do the dirty work.
Tragic tale of lost comics.
And I'm pretty sure that 121 was right in that mix.
Ooh,
yeah.
Now this big comic came out after 121. So this is a post 121. Because if you look on the inside of the back cover, look at the books in the Spider-Man history.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
It's got issue 121, issue 100, all that kind of stuff. So, I had been reading Spider-Man for a while by the time this came out.
Wow. The death of George Stacy. Look at that.
And I don't think I had 121 when I got this one.
Really?
Because I told you I missed that one when it first came out. I got 122, with the... I didn't get... 121 had all the little portrait things on the cover, right?
Right, yeah.
122 was he's holding Gwen, and it's got the more blue cover, and
yep,
he's
very
goblins
dramatic.
coming.
Shaking his fist
I
in
had
anger.
that one. So I had the, Death of the Green Goblin one from way back, but I had missed the 121 issue. I pick up this comic and it's like, Gwen Stacy's dead. Oh no! What happened? I go away for 1 month, and
if you think about it, I think in issue 119 and 120, Peter was up in Canada fighting the Hulk. So this whole Death of Gwen thing, which it just happened basically in 2 issues. The whole story was 2 issues, and you just, if you didn't read it, you really did miss a lot, because you get to see Norman Osborn's life fall apart in a matter of 1 or 2 panels, and then the battle with Spider-Man, the death of Gwen, the death of Norman, and the beginning of, the story starts out with Harry Osborn just tripping out on acid. Yeah. And the story ends with Harry just basically just going nuts, having a nervous breakdown, and eventually, spoilers, becoming another Green Goblin.
It didn't take very long either. It was like, about issue 131, 132?
It didn't take long in retrospect, but when you were a kid, not knowing whether you're going to get these books or not, it seemed to take forever.
I mean, it was less than a year later.
Yeah. It was pretty short.
With gobbling it up.
But then they had a lot of fun in between. You had, Luke Cage making an appearance, and
Punisher,
Man-Wolf, the Jackal, Morbius, Tarantula. It was just a whole slew of characters that were just being churned out.
Punisher.
Yeah, Punisher.
The grail for many vigilante fan. Amazing Spider-Man 129.
Yep. Which I think you got yourself a reprint of that recently, right?
Indeed I did. That comic plays intrinsically into the plot of the movie Coyote Ugly. You've seen that movie, right?
Yep.
Guy wants his Amazing Spider-Man 129. That's his grail issue.
Wow.
You've got Amazing Fantasy 15.
Well, but this is just as valuable. I love this book. I love it. Look at the back. Even the back cover is cool.
Yeah.
The classic half Spider-Man, half Peter Parker. Good stuff. And this was my very first Treasury edition. And it was the first, but not my last. I saw more of these than I did of the DC version. I have I just got a new rack. I don't know if you saw the pictures on Facebook, but it's I've got some Treasury editions there that I always saw advertised in the DC Comics. DC was real good with in-house advertising, and they were always hawking their own stuff that I could never get, like the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer Treasury edition that I never found.
There were a bunch of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It wasn't just one of them. There were several. There were several of the Bible story ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I
don't think I have all. I haven't really looked into that. I have all the Marvel Treasury editions now. I was kind of poking around through my Marvel stuff when I was pulling books for that Taschen 75 Years of Marvel that they were putting together. And that'll be out soon, by the way. I just got a note from the guy. He was telling me, his name's Josh. He's the one who's the art designer for that book. And he also did the 75 Years of DC. He was telling me that they got the first few copies of it, and he brought Stan Lee his copy.
Oh, nice.
And got to sit with Stan. Stan spent an hour looking through the entire book.
Oh, my God.
And these books are massive. And Josh got to, basically he said he'd seen him before just around, but he got to spend an hour with Stan. And it was just awesome.
That's on my bucket list.
But Stan was looking at pictures of my comics because over like half the comics in that book are from my collection.
Nice. So when is this thing going to be out?
I think officially early December.
Oh, just in time for the holidays.
Just in time for the holidays. So he was telling me, though, that they're just about getting them, so they'll be sending me my copy.
Oh, sweet. Very sweet.
So. And he also sent me, I had to show you this thing. He just sent me a couple of extra things in the mail. I got them yesterday.
Mm-hmm. And we'll be right back after these brief messages.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, Bob's back.
2 things of note that he sent me.
Mm-hmm.
First one is this. This is the Milo Manara, Chris Claremont X-Men, the Italian edition.
Wow.
It's a hardcover, and it's black and white, so you can kind of see the line art a lot better.
Oh, man. That is beautiful.
And it's in Italian. And then he sent me this deluxe edition of the Alex Ross mythology. And here's the awesome thing. This thing has a it's a hardcover, but it folds out.
Wow.
Like this. I had never seen this before. I didn't even know this thing existed.
Wow.
And he had picked it up somewhere, and he said he knew I would appreciate it, so he sent it to me. So, awesome.
Very awesome.
And I was just like, whoa, what is that? I've never seen the likes of that before.
How are you going to display that thing?
You can't. And then yesterday...
Everybody take note. That's what I want for Christmas. You haven't even opened it yet.
Oh, yeah, I opened it.
Oh, okay. So what do you get in this big box that used to be a lot of money that's gone down in price now?
You get a little Batmobile.
Wow, I've got just the spot for it right over there.
You get a pack of... you get a reproduction of the Batman trading card set.
Very nice.
From the 60s. And then you just have the... there's an episode guide. There's a little hardcover Adam West scrapbook with pictures and stuff. And then you got the 3 seasons of the show.
Nice.
I actually watched the first 4 episodes yesterday. So that would have been the Riddler was in the first 2, and Penguin.
Diddle. Yeah.
Yeah, High Diddle Riddle and Fine Feathered Finks. Burgess Meredith is so good as the Penguin.
Now, if memory serves me, didn't one of the Riddler's henchmen or henchwoman dress up as Robin and wind up dying in that episode?
In the second episode, and it's Jill St. John.
Oh my God. She fell down into a nuclear reactor, an unlicensed nuclear
reactor because she was afraid. Couldn't hold on. Batman was... And they actually had a decent, I don't know how... They must have, had him going down the rope and run the film backwards because he throws the bat rope up and then he whips up the rope, kind of straight up the thing. And it's like, how the hell did they do that? Because, there's no special effects back then.
Right, especially for that show.
And they did, a really lousy job of, hiding. When they're going up the side of a building, you can, see the string that's holding their cape out, because they were walking along and they had the camera sideways. And their cape is, out behind them. It looks like they're going up the side of the building, but you can kind of see the string that they use to hold their cape out straight like that.
God, I love that show. The one thing I do want to see is if I know they probably remastered it, but I'm wondering if there was any restoration, because these episodes were absolutely butchered when they went into syndication, and as they traveled from market to market, the editing got worse and worse and worse, to the point where something that you saw in the 70s was completely different than something that you saw, say, in the 80s or 90s. You know, they just kept chopping away at it until there was barely an episode left.
I don't know how much restoration they did on it. I mean, the copy looks pretty crisp, but I mean, there's still, you know, you'll see like a little spot here and there on the high def TV, so it's not like absolutely pristine.
Right.
So they didn't go back in and like totally remaster and redo everything.
So I'm assuming the crossover episode is in there also with the Green Hornet.
It's a good question. Was that season 3?
I want to say season 2.
Let's take a quick look. This is the episode guide.
The reason I'm going on and on about this show almost definitely was the driving factor of getting me into comics, because at the end of every episode, you know, during the credits, you saw a little blurb that said, you know, was found in, you know, national periodical publications. And, you know, I would look for Batman comics, and, you know, found other stuff instead until I did actually get one. But the show had a huge influence on me. And not just me, but probably a whole generation of comic collectors from that era. Because people remember the Batmania of 89 and 90. Well, that was nothing compared to what was going on back in, you know, 66, 67. It was insane. I mean, this room up here is just filled with, you know, examples of Batmania from back then and more recent stuff. So it's just good to see that Batman, you know, is an enduring character. And I'm glad that the Batman 66 book is doing well also, because I was getting a little burnt out on the grim and gritty, you know, Miller-esque Dark Knight. It was fine for its time, but enough. Ah, there we go. Bruce Lee.
So, yeah. Episodes 51 and 52 with the villain being Harry Mudd, or Colonel Gum, as he's also known. Roger C. Carmel.
Little Star Trek reference there for Harcourt Vincent Mudd, if you will.
Yeah. Harcourt Vincent Mudd.
So now I have to wait and see if they release the Green Hornet on Blu-ray.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
Doubt they'll do, but
stick those same episodes back in there.
Yeah.
Double dip.
I think that only ran for one season, though. Hard to believe a show that influential, we're talking about Batman, only ran for 3 seasons.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, success back in the 60s and 70s was a lot different than it was nowadays. You could get away with that.
Well, I mean, Star Trek only ran 3 seasons.
Yeah, true. Gilligan's Island, 3 seasons. Seems a lot longer because of syndication. And then you forget when you're younger, because I would just see episodes over and over and over and over again. But
yeah,
you just kind of lose track of the fact that, you know, you're pestering these people at the conventions for work that they did 40 years ago.
Well, you also have to look at how many episodes. You know, it's like there were 34 episodes in the first season of Batman. Mm-hmm. You know, it just out of all 3 seasons, you know, you had a lot of episodes. I mean, season 2 had 60 episodes in it.
Yeah, well, you had 2 episodes a week, which was
but still, I mean, it's like you look at it and you got 94 between the first 2 seasons, and then another 26. He had 120 episodes in 3 seasons. How long does it take you to get 120 episodes of something now?
Yeah.
6 seasons, right? So there were a lot of episodes. I mean, the cutoff point on, they make things till they get about 100 episodes because that's what can run good in syndication. Well, man, they had 120 episodes of Batman after 3 seasons. That's a lot of that second season was like 2 seasons worth of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, 60 episodes, a lot of episodes.
I don't think there's any other show on the air today that could support being on twice a week the way that Batman. But I mean, Batman's hook, their biggest hook was the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
At the end of every episode. Well, at the end of the first episode. And you would have to, tune in again. Same bat time, same bat channel. And what little kid didn't? I did.
No, I remember. I mean, it couldn't have been when it was first on. I mean, because it was first on in 1966, so I was only 4. I mean, maybe I watched it when I was 4, but
I know for a fact that I watched it when it first ran because it was on at night, and it was on later than I usually.
But it was on at like 7 o'clock, right?
Ooh, I remember it being on later than that.
No, I think it was on at like 7. Because I remember that, and Get Smart was also in that time slot. Because I remember in the summertime, I'd be out playing, and I'd have to be home. My thing was, I had to be in the house or back in the yard by the time the streetlights came on.
Right.
Which was at dusk, right? Which was around 7 to 7:30. And the streetlights come on, I would come in, and Batman, Get Smart, those kind of shows would be on. And I think they started those in that time slot, kind of particularly, I don't know, it was like right after dinner. Usually people have dinner around 6, 6:30, whatever.
I'm wondering if that was a syndicated version because I remember...
Maybe it was syndicated for me.
I remember watching it, and I was alone. I had no brothers at the time. And my brothers weren't born until 68 and 69. So maybe it just had such an effect on me that it just imprinted at an earlier age. And then just constant reinforcement from the syndication. But I distinctly remember it was something that I watched with my dad. And it was on at a weird night. Because I remember Get Smart being on too. But I remember Get Smart was always on at my grandma's house, and we only went there on Sundays. So, I don't know. I'll have to look into it, but that's...
Yeah, maybe it was syndication for me.
Yeah, I'm wondering...
Again, I mean, when I was 4, I can't... there's no way I was out. I mean, maybe the 3rd season I watched.
Yeah, that could be.
First run, because by then I was 6. By the time you're 6, you're watching that stuff. So,
and you're out of the house. You're not a 4-year-old wandering around the street.
Yeah, it's like...
It was a different time. Things were so relaxed.
Yeah. Just go wander in the streets, child. But that's the other thing is, back then, parents were not... They were not as overprotective as they are now.
No, they weren't as engaged as they are nowadays.
Yeah.
Be back at dinner time.
Whatever.
Okay.
Go do your thing, just like... I mean, you'd ride your bike around,
You rode it until the wheels fell off.
You'd go out on your bike. You'd go out with your friends. You'd be down at like we had the field, it was just like this. There were no forests where I grew, you grew up in the woods and stuff, I'm in suburban Los Angeles, so the closest we had to like a nature area was, some corner lot that they hadn't yet built something on, and that would be the field, and it would be overgrown with grass. So you'd go there and you'd fly a kite or you throw frisbee around,
body.
Try not to fall over the dead bodies laying around,
Oh, I just keep picturing Stand By Me, the movie.
Just the guys who are trying to stop. What was the plot of Chinatown? It was the San Fernando Valley. Right?
Yeah.
It's like the guys who wanted to do something with the water.
Yep, and they finally succeeded.
Los
40
Angeles.
years later.
So anyway, it's big fun.
Yeah.
Mego presents the Star Trek action figures featuring the crew of the Enterprise. Captain James T. Kirk, their fearless leader. Dr. Bones McCoy, caring for the health of the Enterprise crew. Scotty, the chief engineer, in charge of the transporter room. Mr. Spock, the Vulcan, second in command. And the Klingon, enemy of the Star Trek crew. Star Trek action figures, complete with accessories shown. Each sold separately from Mego. Dr. Bones McCoy, caring for their health and welfare. Scotty, chief engineer. Mr. Spock, the Vulcan first officer. Lieutenant Uhura, the communications officer. And, new for 1976, the aliens, Klingon. Their evil threatens the universe. Gorn, half human, half beast. Charon, is he good or evil? Neptunian, dangerous in space and in his own watery habitat. And the Keeper, his incredible intellect threatens the Enterprise. The Star Trek aliens.
So what else have we done that was big fun lately?
Oh. Well, a while ago we made a TV appearance.
That's right.
Which was finally aired the Monday and Tuesday of this week. And if anybody's interested, I posted a shortened version, a version with just Bob and myself on my Facebook page. So I got to remember to move it over to the Pop Cult Online page. But it's on my personal page now for Rick Gordon. So you can get to see us in all of our glory.
That's the good part.
Yeah. And for anybody out there no, we did not plan on wearing the same clothes. It was just happenstance. It happens. I didn't want to wear blue. Maroon was the only other dark-colored shirt that I had because I wasn't allowed to wear black, so...
Well, you just had the one thing on, and it's like I originally had on purple with the black vest, and then the first episode ended, and I had to go change clothes, and I'm like, oh, man, because the only other outfit I have is the maroon, and you're sitting out there wearing the maroon. And I'm like, we're going to look like twinsies.
Twinsies, the Bobsey twins. That was us. But, yeah, we were both there, and I actually sat down with the family last night, and we watched the show. And it's different because you have to remember that I was sitting behind you, so I really couldn't see what was going on. And you were mic'd.
They didn't have a monitor or anything that you guys could see?
No. You were mic'd and Terry was mic'd, so, you're talking just at your regular, volume, and it was not difficult to hear, but I really had to work at it. So it was interesting to see, once the finished product came out, how it looked, and, your reactions and your body language and everything like that was kind of fascinating to see, since I didn't see it before. And the thing that people have commented the most on was the fact that we both looked very natural. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we do this all week, for God knows how many years now, and especially recently with the video. So there was none of that. I didn't feel nervous. I don't know about you.
No,
I can't speak for you.
It was different. It wasn't nervousness, but for me, the one thing I will say to people, it's like, it's very different answering those questions or any questions when you're sitting at home on your couch watching it on TV saying, it's obviously this answer, Well, I mean, there were some obvious answers. Don't get me wrong. Hey, what Marvel World War II superhero is punching Adolf Hitler on the cover of his first issue? And then they put up 2 DC superheroes, Batman and Superman, Iron Man, who's from the Vietnam War, and Captain America. I mean, come on. It's just like, well, that was a gimme. And they shuffle the questions, right? They shuffle the questions and the dollar
amounts. Yeah.
So that was the $25,000 question, and it was like the easiest question for me.
By far, yeah.
By far, and probably for most people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most people could figure that one out regardless. I mean, that Elf on the Shelf one was pretty easy. But people who don't have kids or have never seen that, they might think it was the Grinch on the bench or something.
Right.
But, I mean, there were some easy ones. But then you had some fairly difficult ones that were not worth that much money at all. So I'm like, my shuffle, the easier questions had the bigger dollar amounts. But you have to get through all of them to get to round 2. And that's the thing with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire that I find that's kind of deceptively difficult about that show is you can be on Jeopardy. Mm-hmm. And Jeopardy has hard questions, but if you don't know a question, you don't have to buzz your thing.
Right.
And it's no skin off your nose. Mm-hmm. Someone just doesn't answer that question. If you answer a question wrong, well, they take $400 off your total.
Right.
On Millionaire, if you answer a question wrong, you're out of there. It's just,
well, yeah. Not only are you out of there, but let me tell you, they hustled us right out of there. They gave us the bum's rush. You stopped for a few minutes to fill out some paperwork, and we were basically escorted off the premises.
We were like out in the parking lot holding our change of clothes, and it was like, okay.
and the producers were so nice about it, but we got thrown out.
The other thing is the producers, they were the nicest people in the world. I mean, they were nice about kicking our ass out the door, but they were very helpful and all that before you were on the show. Once they were done with you, the quicker they could get you out of their hair, the better.
Right.
Because they had the next group of people and it's not a knock against them.
Right.
They had their next group of people that they needed to deal with. They recorded 135 episodes in the month of October. The entire season of Millionaire they record. And they must have done like 10 episodes at least that day that we were there, right?
Easily, if not more.
Because they were recording some episodes before our week. Mm-hmm. They did our week of 5 episodes, and I think they did episodes after that as well.
Right.
They brought in a second audience.
I mean, we got there, we got to the studio at like 8:30, right? Or actually quarter after. So and there were people there before us, so I have no idea what time this process started. But I'm sure it went, late into the evening if they're churning out that many episodes. It's a lot of. I think the best part of the whole experience was seeing how an episode of a game show was created, and we were kind of there at ground zero, and we got to see it from start to finish, and it was fascinating. What scenes were retakes and. The teleprompters and the set. The set was amazing because it was just you felt like you were in the middle of a pinball game with the lights and the sound and the fog machine, which was real subtle. And,
just like, dun, 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 with that music and all that.
All the heartbeat music, I'm
standing up there and... Again, you're answering questions at home, and it's like, okay, whatever. I'm standing there. Terry Crews is like, 2 or 3 feet from me. That dude has energy pouring off him like a force wave. Mm-hmm. I mean, he is so high energy. He is just animated and jumping around, and he is just on, And it's infectious. You've got this energy coming at you, the lights, you've got the music, you've got all that stuff. And it just, every plan that I made coming into that thing, it just like went out the door. It's just like, he asked me at one point, when I was struggling with that question, he's like, "Are you a risk taker?" And
oh my God, yeah.
He didn't mean anything by it, right? But in my mind, as I'm up there, I'm like, shit, I got to go for it. And it's like I had told myself the whole time for weeks leading up to this, if I do not know the answer and I've got a decent amount of money in the bank, I'm going to take the money and walk.
And we had talked
I had
about
47 grand. I was saying it the whole time.
Yep.
47,000. I did not know the answer. I was obviously unsure of the answer. Everything I had said, walk, 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 walk. Did I walk? Of course not. Like, are you a risk taker? And it's like, what was the other part? They told us, you were right next to me. Am I hallucinating this? They told us in the briefing that they do not try to trick you and that they purposely build clues into the questions.
Right.
And if there is some seemingly random piece of data in the question, it's usually there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not ascribing malicious intent on their part. But when I got that final question that I went out in flames on, it was like, Washington's army came down with this disease that took out a lot of people. Washington didn't get it because he had it when he was a younger man in Barbados. And I'm just zoning in on Barbados.
I did the same thing.
Why in the world are they telling me Barbados?
Mm-hmm.
Unless it is significant. Because it's just like, Washington didn't have it because he had it when he was younger. The end, right?
Right.
But they say in Barbados. And I'm thinking, oh, man, Barbados. It's got to be some tropical ailment.
Right. So here's what's happening. You're working it out the way they told us to do it. If you weren't sure about something, work it out loud. Let the audience hear your thought process. And everybody was great about that. So that question came up, and I could see you weren't sure. You were waffling back and forth. So it's like, all right, well, he's gonna just, we're gonna walk, but let me try to figure out this question anyway. So like you said, I kept getting hung up on Barbados. Spanish flu, I knew because Reed Richards had talked about it in a burn issue of the FF, how it killed like 12 million people in the beginning of the 20th century. And it's basically what stopped World War I was the Spanish flu. So I eliminated that. But I kept thinking Barbados. Barbados is near the equator. It's got to be tropical. It's got to be a tropical disease. And I was convinced. I would have bet anything that it was malaria.
And that was why I dismissed smallpox. Because I'm zoning in on, syphilis, it's not syphilis, okay? It's just like, the Army of the Potomac wasn't banging a lot of hookers, and getting syphilis.
Well, Betsy Ross did sew a mean flag.
That history. That's the kind of nugget of history that I would remember if they all had syphilis, right? So it's like, okay, it's not syphilis, so it's either smallpox, Spanish flu, or malaria.
Right.
And then I'm thinking, smallpox? What in the world does smallpox have to do with Barbados? Right. Nothing. So I was dead in the water at that point because I had dismissed smallpox because the word Barbados was in the clue.
Yeah, right off the rip, you just immediately dismissed smallpox.
And I said it out loud. I said, well, smallpox is not, tropical, so it can't be that. And this is like dead man walking. Are you a risk taker, Bob?
Oh, it was like, no, Terry, don't say that.
Oh, no.
How can I signal Bob? I tried telepathy. I really did. It's like, Bob, walk. And I'm holding my temple. My nose is starting to bleed.
One ill-conceived decision, it takes a second and you blow it. So it's like, and you only get 50% of that money, people. So I only pissed away $23,550 with that $22,550 because I got $1,000.
Right. But like I said, it wasn't money.
Yeah.
That was yours. It was fun money. You came and went, and the little bit that you did get, basically paid for your ticket out here. So
yeah, it paid my airfare.
So yeah. Other than that, it was. Now, when I take a step back and remove myself and my friendship with you out of the situation, it was a very compelling piece of TV. It really was. It was more fun to watch that than it would be, because I don't know if you watched Aaron's performance before you, but
I did. I watched Aaron, and I don't want to knock Aaron, but you know what? I mean, when they got that bat and ball question, and she brought her +1 up, and neither of them could figure that out.
Right.
And then they had to jump the question, and she, even after all that, had the common sense to walk when she had, $18,000 and didn't know an answer. And walked out of there with $9,000. She came out of that with $8,000 more than I did. So bless her heart. Another thing I'll tell you is, I looked her up. So she has in the blog that I did on Comic Spectrum about this whole thing. So if you go out on Comic Spectrum and look at Bob's blog, there's a blog, and I've got some pictures and things. But I put some links in it too, and I found a YouTube video of Aaron chopping down those trees.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
My God. So, and you got to watch the girl before her, because I turned the clip on, and this girl is like chopping like 4, 5, 6 strokes to chop a tree down. And I'm like, but they're wearing like big jackets and stuff. And I mean, is that Aaron? Because
that's what I thought too. Yeah.
I had talked to her and I said, how many chops does it take you to chop one of these trees down? She said, 1 or 2. And this girl is just like wailing away at these trees, like 5, 6 chops. And I'm like, man, Aaron said she's chopping them down in 1. But then she finishes and it's like Aaron's the next girl. And up comes Aaron, and it's like they got all the trees, and the buzzer goes off, and she's like, whoosh, whoosh, and she's just slicing through these things. It was like watching a superhero, like,
amazing.
Thor is just like, whack, just knocking these trees down, and they're 4 inches around these trees, and she is taking them down.
Yeah, it is no joke.
It's just, man. Like an enchanted axe or something she's got.
An enchanted axe, I like that. Maybe she's part Asgardian and part.
And did you watch Susan after me?
I watched a little bit, but I was supposed to DVR it here at the house, and it didn't work. So, but I think I've got it DVR'd at work. So
I have to still watch the second half of Susan, because she finished out my episode, and she ended up not getting all the big value ones at the beginning. But
she was
she's
nickel
smart.
and diming her way. Yeah.
She was fighting tooth and nail up the chain, and she's sharp. She had some questions on there that it's like, but I think a lot of it is, what I find on a lot of these questions is, I characterized a lot of the questions that I got is, they're easy if you know them.
Right.
If you have some life experience where, like you read the Reed Richards thing and you knew it was not Spanish flu, and I had other people saying, oh yeah, Spanish flu, that was 20th century. And it's like, well, I don't remember those things. I had no remembrance that Spanish flu was 20th century, and it's like, hey, if I had watched some History Channel thing about Washington's Army of the Potomac, I would have probably seen them talking about smallpox, and then I would have known it, and that would have become easy, right? And it's the same thing like Captain America. For me, that was the easiest question in the world, or for most of us who are comic people, you see that as like, oh, man, that's easy. But, someone who has never read a comic book, doesn't watch superhero movies or TV shows, and they like to watch just football games all the time. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but you ask them that question, and they would have no earthly idea. There may be, well, I don't know, Superman maybe hit Adolf Hitler. He was around back then.
Right.
They wouldn't know, and most people don't know the difference between a Marvel and DC hero.
I was going to say that. That's the other thing, because you could have put that up there, and people just don't know the difference. They don't know that Batman is DC. They think, DC, Marvel, whatever.
Whatever, what is that? What is the difference? So, a lot of those questions, they're very deceptive, because when people look at them, like I thought that elf on the shelf question was fairly simplistic. But, I talk to people at work, and, and half of them, they're younger people. They don't have kids. They don't know anybody with kids. They're like, I don't know, Grinch on the bench,
Grinch on a bench.
I actually was in the store the other day because they've already put all the Christmas stuff out. They had a Hanukkah one that, I kid you not, they had the Mensch on the bench.
Oh, wow.
And he comes with a little menorah, and it's the Jewish version of the elf on the shelf.
Nice. I like that.
So they couldn't have put that one in the question, because that would have been misleading. Because there is such a thing as a Mensch on a bench. I get to see some questioner just making that up, thinking, "Oh, I'm just making this up." There's like
who's going to cross-check this? All right.
So just you acquitted yourself wonderfully, because again, that was one where I hadn't seen that movie. I wanted to see that movie. I hadn't seen that movie. I know some James Brown songs, but I don't know that many. And it was one of these questions where it's like, well, maybe Rick knows it, because it's like, I have no idea. And it's just like,
it's funny
in retrospect, if I didn't have you, I would have walked at that point.
Mm-hmm. Well,
because
even
I
if you had another lifeline.
Well, I'm saying if I hadn't have had a lifeline on that question to use, because I pissed away my my audience one right out of the gate, because I was just deathly paranoid about flaming out on the first question. That was the one thing I didn't want to do.
Right.
And I knew that. It was just, it had to have been Noriega, but I was second guessing myself, because I didn't know off the top of my head. I knew Noriega was from Panama, but Hugo Chavez, now I remember he's like from Nicaragua or something, and the other guy, is Chavez maybe from Venezuela or something. They're from different countries. They're not from Panama. One of them's from Venezuela. One of them's from Nicaragua. And it's just, but I didn't know that, and especially up there with all this stuff going on.
And
it's very difficult to gather your thoughts when all that's going on.
See, what people don't realize, even though there's a studio audience there, they're behind you. You can't see them. The only thing you can see is Terry and the board. And maybe if you look off to the left,
the audience is all around you. You were behind me, but the audience is like almost 360.
Right? But you don't. But when you're up there, you don't notice it. Well, at least I didn't. I didn't notice them.
I couldn't look behind me, but I could see the people out kind of in front of me on the sides. But, you're not supposed to be, you're supposed to be looking at the board, but all these people are out there, because they're reacting to everything.
Right. Good show, though. Good show.
Oh, well.
Oh, well. Things happen.
Yeah.
It wasn't a total bust, but...
I got to meet you in person.
True. That's worth the price of admission right there.
That's true.
Huh. I don't know where this came from, but I just found an old Adventure Comics. And all the ladies, all the gals from the Legion are being very mean. They're breaking statues of all the male members of the Legion.
That's pretty bitchy.
Yeah, I tried to read it, but I couldn't get through it. Maybe
they got all those beehive hairdos going on too. I like how even, especially in like the Millie the Model, it's like all the, those updos with all the crazy stuff going on. That was that was hot back then, I guess.
Yeah, well, it kind of makes sense. But this is supposed to take place in the future, and it looks an awful lot like 50s America.
Yeah. You mean that didn't endure for 3,000 years?
Maybe it's
along
part
with
of a cycle
vacuum,
we just haven't
along
seen
with
yet.
the vacuum tube as the most modern form of technology.
Yes, Brainiac has got vacuum tubes everywhere.
I like, at least in Star Trek, they make up isolinear chips.
Yeah.
They're now actually starting to invent, 30 years later. I'm still waiting for the transporter.
Yeah, not me. I'm going to skip that. And
you're like Dr. McCoy.
Super Turtle.
Silly Putty.
Super Turtle and a Silly Putty ad.
I like Silly Putty.
That stuff is gold. All right, buddy. We got to wrap this up. It's 11.
I'm going to show you my
what do you got
copy.
there? Oh, boy.
Of a similar era. Look at that. You can get 150 Civil War soldiers for $1.49.
Nice.
6 Gatling guns.
They're probably, one set is molded gray plastic, the other one is molded blue plastic.
That's right. The blues and the grays. Penny apiece.
Nice. It's a bargain.
And reenact the Battle of Gettysburg.
All right, that's it for this episode. Join us again. We'll have more to talk about. And thanks for stopping by. And quick plug.
ComicSpectrum.com. Check it out. The latest news. I don't do that much news. I always say news and reviews. Well, there's occasional news, but there are reviews every single day. And I'll put up at least about once a week, I'll have a blog about something. And monthly, I put up stuff about new comics. And I think what I was talking about last time, I think the episode cut off when I was talking about something at the end there last time about that Joe Kubert book, the Western book.
Really?
Yeah.
Watch
the very end. Cuts off.
Huh. Weird.
But go out and check out Bob's blog for Flying Under the Radar, and you can find it out anyway.
Cool. All right. That's it.
God. Wanted to be a millionaire, Rick.
We are. We are. Just not with money.
That's true.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.